Hello, hello, hello. Welcome in, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Kendall, Valenzuela, Adam Ronis with you right here. Fantasy Life on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio, breaking down everything you need to know going into week 10. Adam, I can't believe, again, week 10 is here. We're going to break down everything that we saw at the NFL trade deadline. Had some moves being made, and Dallas said, no, maybe they were listening to us, Adam, and they said, you know what? Kendall and Adam are giving us so much crap about our last pick that we need to go and do something else here. How you doing? How's it going? How you feeling?
Yeah, I'm feeling okay. Expected. I don't know. Did you expect a little bit more at the trade deadline or some more? I thought there might have been more guys
I
traded.
don't I don't know. Those were like two blockbuster trades. So I
Yeah.
think the scale of what we saw. So if people missed it, it was the New York Jets really stole the show and basically all the headlines because they sold. Besides anyone on offense that would have made our lives a little bit different, they sold on the other side, on the defensive side. And so Sauce Gardner going to the Colts, Quinnen Williams going to your Dallas Cowboys. So I thought there would be a little bit more moves, yes, but because of the scale of what they did and how like big of a blockbuster trade both of those were, I was very happy with what we saw yesterday.
Yeah, you were happy because your team acquired Rashid
Well,
Shaheed. That's
yeah,
why.
yeah, we're gonna talk about it. Wait, you don't like Quinnen Williams? It's odd. I mean, I don't know, but he's
It-
still young enough to he could make a difference over the next few years.
yeah, I don't know. I think they should have done nothing
Yeah, well,
and
you
just keep the
aren't making
picks.
the
Yeah,
playoffs,
they're not
so
going anywhere this year.
yeah. But I mean, the Sauce Gardner one, that was crazy. We don't see trades like that. I mean, that was a true blockbuster trade for Sauce Gardner again going to going to the Colts. And I'll say this: I do think the Jets, as much as we say how bad we feel for them and all that stuff, I do think they were a winner yesterday. I know that Jets fans are probably not happy. I've seen videos of children crying online. I'll send you one. This kid loves Sauce Gardner, and his parents had to go break the news that he was not a Jet anymore. And he said, "I want to be a Colts fan now," and they said that's totally fine. But I think, I think they deserve credit because a lot of the times we say to ourselves, okay, this team isn't doing anything, but we're not coaches, we're not executives, we're not in the front office. And sometimes it feels like teams do not identify who they are and where they're going. And I feel like right now the Jets know who they are, which is a bad football team. And they know that they can just shore up some picks for the future and hopefully turn their franchise around. It's obviously only going to matter, Adam, if they do right by these picks that they got, but they got a good haul. They added 3 first round picks, a second, and two young players, I will say, in the past 24 hours. So I thought they were winners yesterday.
Yeah, I think the point that you said about them making the right picks is going to be key. And the confidence for them to do that is not high. But they did do the right thing. You have to just tear it down at this point.
Yeah.
It's not going anywhere with this team. So, and we know it can be risky. You can make the wrong picks. You could look back and it could backfire. And you could say, well, you could have just kept those guys. That's who you're trying to draft at the with those picks anyway. But it clearly is not working with what they have there. So you have to just kind of tear it down and rebuild.
And that's what they're going to do. I know that I've read a lot this morning, just breakdowns on this, and a lot of the news outlets, reporters or whatever, are going back and saying that this reminds them of Detroit. When they started to rebuild and they had those picks, I think it was 2023 draft. They had the 2 first round picks, 2 second round picks, but it only matters if you're able to do well at the draft. And that's something that we're not going to even be able to see in the immediate, near us right now. It's going to take years for us to figure out if this was actually a really good spot for them to be in, and then it takes a couple years after the NFL draft to figure out if that draft was good enough. But in that draft, they had Gibbs, they had Campbell, they had Laporta. Brian Branch was in that one. So it takes a lot of patience, but and I think this was a win for Aaron Glenn as well, because they're just saying, you know what, hopefully they have patience with him and they go forward and they, again, use these picks to their advantage, or they use them in a quarterback trade package, which I fear that might be what they do, but we'll see. Which I just, again, Adam, I hope they don't do that, but we're going to figure it out.
It's the Jets, so I
I
think even
know.
their fans, they've
Sorry,
come to
Jets
expect the
fans.
worst.
Sorry, Jets fans. So you were fine with Quinnen Williams going to your team? It's just random, but you're not making the playoffs. Well, maybe the Super Bowl now. I
Yeah,
like
I
the
mean,
Super
this is
Bowl.
going to
Yeah,
turn it around. I mean, the
for sure.
defense has been so
Hmm.
bad. Now you add two key players, and this is where the bounce back begins for
There
them.
we go. There we go. Nothing but up from here for the Dallas
Yeah, definitely.
Cowboys. We could talk. The Saints did deal Rashid Shaheed. We talked about this yesterday. I said, hey, if there's anyone that I want to see moved, it was Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed. I don't know why I was kicking myself yesterday, Adam. Why I didn't make the connection with Clint Kubiak reuniting with Rashid Shaheed, because now that feels very obvious. But we got news yesterday that the Seahawks were trying to make a move, and they did. They went out and got Rashid Shaheed. Seattle sent a 2026 fourth and a fifth round pick to the New Orleans Saints. The guy, they still kept Kamara, they still kept Chris Olave, but Rashid Shaheed added to this team, 27 years old. Again, I think it hurts Torrey Horton's value. If you heard us yesterday saying, waiver wire names to know, and it was Torrey Horton, I still think he's a worthwhile add. But I think this also shows that Cup's, heel and hamstring injuries might not be short-term problems. And they also might be looking around and saying, you know what, we need to go a different direction from what we have right now, because they don't have that many healthy receivers. It's JSN, it's Torrey Horton. Cooper Kupp has the injuries right now. Jake Bobo has an Achilles. Young has a quad injury. So all of that said, I do like that they added. We'll have to see what Rashid Shaheed can do in this offense, because we know it's just going to be JSN's world. They're going to live in it, and the pass catchers really will likely to have to maximize unlimited opportunities. But if he can do that, he is a field stretcher. I just see a lot of similarities in him and Torrey Horton with this trade.
Yeah, and it's really to the volume in this offense. Will there be enough? They have been passing a little bit more now. Darnold has been one of the best deep ball throwers in the NFL
Mhm.
this year. So it's a really good fit for the offense. It's an upgrade for Darnold, who's been playing great. The key is with Shaheed, you're going to have to accept some down weeks. There will be some boom weeks. We mentioned how the fit with Kubiak last year and how good he was.
Mhm.
So, yeah, you'll get some big weeks when he makes some big plays, and then there'll be some down weeks as well. So you're just going to have to accept that when you put him in your lineup. But, especially when he hits on a deep pass in a certain game and finds the end zone, he's going to have a big week.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome. And the Seahawks, like you said to your point just now, they have the fourth lowest early down pass rate in neutral situations. That's according to the Athletic. So basically, the Seahawks don't throw the ball very often, and when they do, it is usually going to Jackson Smith and Smith and Jigba. We already know that. And so we know that a lot of their problems as well, which is crazy, Adam, is in the backfield, is with their running backs. If they were able to get that, I mean, that part of their game going, they would just be even more dominant. I read and heard that they were trying to look for offensive linemen as well. That obviously didn't come to fruition either. But I do like this move. I think long term, the outlook is kind of notable here, where I think they maybe move on from Cooper Kupp, who hasn't done much for this team. And they just said, all right, we're going to go ahead and go with Rashid Shaheed and Torrey Horton and a younger, Elijah Arroyo, Jackson Smith, and Jigba. And that's what they go for from here. But it's fun to see your team trading at the deadline. What a concept.
Well,
They're good. They look
when they're
good.
good too, it's
Well,
fun.
that's true.
And
Yeah.
they're a really good team right now, and added a piece to help the offense. We know how good Shaheed can be. Yeah, his fantasy value would have been better staying with the Saints,
Yes.
obviously. But again, there will be some big weeks for him. When Seattle dominates, though, that's when it's going to be a problem. So he's one of those players where there's going to be volatility, and it's tough because the problem is trying to figure out when. Because if you
Mhm.
do that, right, what happens is you have a bad game, then you go, all right, I'm benching him. Then the next week he goes
Exactly.
4 for 108 and a touchdown. Then you go, all right, I got to get him back in my lineup. You put him in, he has a down game, and then you keep playing that game. So he's that type of player that you're probably just going to have to suck it up and put him in the lineup every week, or you're going to miss the big games.
I've got him right now, actually, and I don't know if I like this spot. It might move as the week goes on, but I've got him wide receiver 36 this week with the Seattle Seahawks going up against the Arizona Cardinals. So that's definitely start worthy depending on how many flex spots you have. I know in one league, Adam, in one of our high stakes leagues, like I've just had to play him every single week because he is that third wide receiver. It gets kind of gross when you're in those drafts, and it's been like you said, up and down, push and pull kind of season, but. I like the move, and it just kind of goes to show that they're trying to continue on. And like you said, Sam Darnold right now is close to someone that if you picked up off the waiver wire, he might be close to an every down starter, depending on who else you had on your team. So I really like it for them. I'm a happy Seahawks fan. You're not. You're just like a
What
medium happy
you should
Cowboys
be a
fan.
happy
I
Seahawks fan.
know.
I mean, there's no happy Cowboys
Well,
fans
that's true.
ever.
Do you think there's happy Cardinals fans right now? Do you think Cardinals fans are saying, "Okay, wait a second, this might look a little bit better because Jacoby Brissett is getting the start, not Kyler Murray going up again against the Seahawks this weekend." So he's going to get his fourth straight start for the Cardinals on Sunday. And Jonathan Gannon kind of confirmed that yesterday, saying that after he said nothing's changed, obviously things have changed. The quote was, "I take all the variables that I have to make decisions and make the decisions when I need to, and I think we're doing a pretty good job on offense. I like what the offense is doing right now," and that was in reference to Jacoby Brissett being the starter. So there we go. And he did also add that Murray is still not ready with his foot injury, but I believe that is more of a soft benching than anything else. So we get Jacoby Brissett this weekend, which is actually good for this offense and just for fantasy outlooks across the board for especially Marvin Harrison Jr. and Trey McBride.
Yeah, I think if you have those players, this is what you wanted to see. You were very worried about Kyler Murray returning, and you were having nightmares like, oh, take your time. No need to rush back, because we see the offense just operates much better, smoother with Jacoby Brissett at quarterback. And you could see even the reaction of the players and how they've taken to him and the things they say. So, yeah, this is a good thing. And, the Cardinals have lost a lot of close games that they could have won. I mean, they easily could have had a better record. And, they just dominated Dallas this past week. Their defense did a really good job, and the offense was able to move the ball. And even with the rotation at running back in the backfield, you saw Marvin Harrison have that big game. Trey McBride all of a sudden is scoring touchdowns every single week after we were waiting, 15, 16 weeks last year to get one with Kyler Murray. You see the splits with Murray and Brissett at quarterback, and it is a stark difference. So, yeah, it made sense. It was going to be a problem if they went away from Brissett. Now, you can believe what they say, that Murray's foot injury is a problem, and they're seeking additional opinions, or, everyone's going to just assume, oh, yeah, he's benched. But whatever it is, it's good for the Cardinals offense. Brissett does have a tough matchup, though, this week at Seattle. Yeah. So, I don't know. Would you stream him this week at Seattle?
Where do I have him in my rankings this week? My initial reaction is it's not the best, but I also understand that there's not going to be Sam Darnold's on the waiver wire anymore. Like, I think I would almost rather go to Marcus Mariota. JJ McCarthy's playing the Ravens. But the thing with Brissett, though, is that he has, in the splits that we've seen, he has looked good. And so these divisional matchups too, sometimes they just get a little bit weird when we look at them. And so I would say I'm okay with it, but I think there might be better options out there. 5 starts, or no, how many starts do we have with Jacoby Brissett?
I think it's
3 starts, excuse me. He's averaging 286 passing yards per game, 7.7 yards per attempt. Well, now, hang on. 6 touchdowns, 1 interception.
Well, you got to take the Cowboys game away. They don't count as a real defense.
I don't want to take the Cowboys game away.
Then they played the Packers and the Colts, and we know the Colts, you can pass on them. So he's had solid matchups here.
Where do I have him this week? I can answer this question with my own. I just don't think he's in I have JJ McCarthy ahead of him right now. Sam Darnold, if you picked him up, like I said, he's close to a starter that you can have every single week. I've got Marcus Mariota ahead. So he's really close. He's my QB 20 this week.
Okay. Yeah. So you might have better options out there this week.
Even Mariota, I think, is just a little bit better. He's 1 spot ahead for me. But they're going up against Detroit, and that Detroit team might be a little bit pissed off.
They will be. I think with Mariota, you're expecting, some rushing yards and playing from behind, piling up passing yards.
Arizona's offense is averaging 25.7 offensive points under Brissett compared to 18.8 points with Kyler Murray. They're also converting 56% of third downs with Brissett. It was 40% in Kyler Murray starts. So, yeah, we can just keep going. I think there's a little bit of truth to both, though. I think they're taking their time with Kyler Murray and his injury just because I think in the offseason they're going to, he's going to be somewhere else. I think he's going to be traded. I don't think this marriage is working. The regime that's there now did not pick Kyler Murray. So sometimes we see a lot of that happen. And then there's a divorce. And so I just think that Kyler Murray, yes, I think he does have a foot injury, but they're also making sure that he stays healthy so that this offseason maybe he can get shipped off. But we'll see. We'll see.
I think the problem is they take a huge cap hit, though, if they try to get rid of him.
What are they going to do then?
53.3 million cap hit.
They can't continue though.
I
He's
mean,
not
it's clear.
playing this
Yeah,
year.
it's just whether you got to find a team where he's a better fit. It's not worked. I mean, we've talked about it. Watching even last year, watching this offense has been painful with Kyler
Yeah.
Murray. It's just really bad, and you just see it looks so much different with Jacoby Brissett. Like
hmm
he can actually get the ball to the receivers.
And I remember last season us breaking down everything with Trey McBride and it kind of being funny to a point where we got to the end of the season. We said, there's no way that this can continue. And then he ends up, getting what, 2 touchdowns last year. But then we see this with Jacoby Brissett. And I'm like, how funny was that? Because how much of that was just, between him and Kyler Murray. So, all
Yeah,
right, it might be hard.
he had one touchdown in the first 5 games with Kyler. He has
Uh-huh.
four in three
Yeah.
games with
I was thinking about that last
Brissett.
night. I was like, now that's not as funny anymore.
And look,
Because
it's not like McBride had a terrible year with Kyler
no.
Murray. It's just that couldn't score, couldn't find the end zone, and now we're seeing that happen. He also has 33 targets in 3 games with Brissett. So yeah, it's great for, and obviously Marvin Harrison too. I know it was the
Yeah.
Cowboys, so we're gonna want to see him do it again against a better defense. Like this will be a good test this week for Harrison, but at least you are more optimistic now because if
Oh,
you
for
had
sure.
Harrison most of the year with Kyler Murray at quarterback, the first week was good, right? You felt good. And then we went back to the inconsistency because week 2 was 2 for 27 and 3 for 44. And you were like, oh boy, this is going to be a bad pick. Why did I do it? At least now you feel optimistic with Brissett at quarterback that Marvin Harrison might be able to return his draft value.
Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray might be the one though that we talk about if he does get moved that he just needs a change of scenery. I still think he's talented. Maybe I'm just holding out hope. I do still think
I,
it's there. It's just not working here.
okay, I mean, look,
Like revive his career. We've seen it so often
yeah,
now
we've seen
with
it a
these
lot now
quarterbacks.
that it's hard to bury these quarterbacks
Yeah.
because sometimes you just need the right fit, the right coaching staff, and it's certainly possible. But he definitely has limitations, and it
He
shows in his
does.
play.
Pre-June 1 for the 2026 league year would see Arizona eat 17.9 million in dead cap while saving 35.3. So maybe they do it then. Pre-June 1? Let's go. Send him to Dallas.
No, don't do that. Well, that's true. He's
Let's
never
see.
lost at that
Yeah,
stadium.
he's
Maybe
never
that's
lost.
it.
So maybe that's what you guys need is someone that just never loses in Dallas. We're going to continue on breaking down one more trade, not necessarily trade, but I do want to talk eventually about AD Mitchell here and his move as well. And we're also going to go through, are they going to continue to boom? Or are they going to continue to bust? I want to talk about Brock Bowers here, Jordan Mason managers, and how worried they should be. We're going to break that down coming up next. We are here to help you keep dominating those fantasy football leagues. Kendall, Valenzuela, Adam Ronis with you right here on this Wednesday morning. Send us any questions you have, comments, concerns about your team, concerns about Adam's Cowboys, whatever you have. At Valenzuela17, at Adam Ronis over there on X. Because, like I said, we are here to help, always getting you ready for Week 10. And with Week 10 comes some questions here, Adam, about are they going to continue to boom or will they continue to have some down weeks? Will they continue to bust? I want to start talking with, positively, start talking with Brock Bowers, because what you've seen so far, at least since he's coming off that injury, has looked really good. And you have to be really happy with what you've seen, especially so it was the PCL sprain for the first 5 weeks. And any manager of Brock Bowers was beyond frustrated. I was one of them, and it just absolutely stunk to have to put him in those starting lineups. But when we look at what's been happening, excluding the 3 games he played with that injury this season, he's averaged 16.9 fantasy points and has a 27% target share, 2.19 yards per route run over that span, and he is looking like a really, really good tight end one for you. So do you expect that to continue the rest of the way?
Yeah, the guy's absolutely a
Woo.
stud. I think there was no doubt that he would produce. The question is, whenever you take that tight end early, how does it affect the rest of your roster? Also, again, when the tight end misses time due to injury, that can affect your team. So the team you have Bowers, is it staying afloat? Is it doing well?
Yeah, it's staying. Oh yeah, it's staying afloat. It was one of
Okay.
the FFWC teams.
Oh, okay. So yeah,
Yeah.
if you were able to hang around and your
Mhm.
team didn't sink and you didn't get hit with
No,
other
still
injuries.
all
Now,
right.
the thing is with the interesting part with Bowers is that there was a lot of tight ends you could have gotten off the waiver wire this year that to get through it, even if it was just like a 2 week stretch. We had Jawan Johnson early in the year. You could have picked up, maybe you picked up Gadsden. I mean, that would obviously been great. You could have had, Loveland. You could have
Mhm.
had, Theo Johnson, Kate Otten for a stretch. Like you could have pieced it together. And now that you have Bowers back, that's it. It's ready for takeoff because good chance he's the number one tight end the rest of the way. I mean, you could see it. He was healthy. He tried to play through that injury. It was clear. There were routes that I saw that he just couldn't accelerate, that he was
Yeah.
open and the defender would have time to catch up to him and break up the pass. But he shed the brace and he looked dominant last week. So, yeah, he will definitely be on a lot of championship winning teams down the stretch.
Yeah, it looks really good. And so if you're again a Brock Bowers manager, you're just happy with the turn that you've seen, and you said it, Adam. He shouldn't have been out there. And I think that's the more frustrating part because then like it's just if when they go on IR, you can at least know, okay, well, I'm gonna bench him. It's so hard to bench some of your studs, right? Even when they say, they're banged up, but they're still going to play, it makes for really tough start sit decisions. So Brock Bowers, going forward, I mean, he had a 92 utilization score last year, has a 94 this year. That's including his injured games, by the way. So Dwayne McFarland broke it down, but his historical comparisons have averaged the rest of the way 16.3 points, with an 89% of them finishing as a top three tight end. So that's definitely the door is definitely open there, especially with the unfortunate Tucker Kraft injury. So we'll see how the tight end landscape kind of shakes out the rest of the way here. We've got a lot of questions on Jordan Mason. So this is are they going to continue to boom or continue to bust? And Jordan Mason feels like someone that is not, I don't see light at the end of the tunnel, Adam. I will say the update for Aaron Jones is that they're pretty positive that he's going to be okay to play this week. Again, we're still going to have to monitor injury reports, everything like that starting today. And of course, more importantly, Thursday, Friday. But his utilization score is bad. In 4 games with Aaron Jones, his average score, utilization score that is a 44, and he averages 5.2 fantasy points per game. Is that going to turn around, or is this the Jordan Mason that we're going to have the rest of the way?
If Aaron Jones is on the field, you can't play him. It's pretty simple at this point. It just has not panned out the way many of us hoped. And then even with Jones out, it was not great. So if Jones is out this week, then yeah, I think you can use him. But Jones started to take over that backfield last week before he left with injury. It was mostly him. So Mason is very dependent on scoring a touchdown, getting those goal line carries, which still might be his role, but we know how risky that is, relying on a player just to score a touchdown on a given week. So to me, for this week, it comes down to, does Aaron Jones play? They can say all they want. Yeah, he's fine. Well, we'll see. The practice reports will tell us the truth. He's an older back that injuries were definitely going to be a factor. And I think that was a big reason why, at least for me, why I liked Jordan Mason was I
Oh,
was
yeah.
worried about Aaron Jones staying healthy. We did hear them say it was going to be 1A, 1B. Jones is coming off the biggest workload of his career, 30 years old. So he's already had the hamstring, now has a shoulder. Those things can add up. Even if he's able to play, like a shoulder injury for a running back, like that's taking on contact almost every carry you have. You could slam it hard to the ground on a tackle. So there's a lot of concerns there. But if Jones is active, then yes, it is very difficult to play Jordan Mason right now.
Well, and Aaron Jones looked good in
He
the
did, yeah.
limited time that he had going up against the Lions. I mean, he really did look good in that game. And you're right. The reason why, and I remember I wrote a lot about Jordan Mason. I like the 1-2 punch here, but it was a lot of the injury potential to Aaron Jones, and we saw it happen. He went down again, 31 in December. When's his birthday? Come on, we've
Oh,
said it
yeah,
before.
it's December. Oh,
Come on,
it's
you've got a good memory.
December 8th.
Second. That's
Oh,
okay.
damn.
That's okay. We should send him a card since we bring up his birthday so much. But that was the thing with Aaron Jones. It's like, okay, an older back, he's 31, and I still do think they have potential to be a good 1-2 punch. But you're right. If Aaron Jones is out there, Jordan Mason's value takes a serious hit. Right now, I've got Aaron Jones at RB23, Jordan Mason at 32. So again, it's a place where if you're in a desperate spot, you might have to start Jordan Mason. I might have to do that this week because the team's on a bye. But this is definitely a winnable matchup going up against the Ravens. They're 27th in PPR points per game allowed to running backs. So it's a one we might have to look at, but it's just been disappointing to say the least.
It has. I don't have
Bad.
him in as many leagues as I thought. I think I might only have him in 2, but
It's
he
because I
was.
drafted him. It's fine.
Well, yeah, no, he was that running back I was considering in the area where he went. So, yeah, it has not panned out in the way that we hoped.
What about Roma Odunze? Back to back. Well, his dad is mad. So we should get mad as well.
Hey,
But
look, it
Roma,
worked for Marvin Harrison Jr.
listen,
So
maybe
let's
that's what
see.
they need to start. Yeah, maybe that's what they need to start doing. I love watching, parents on X, Twitter, whatever it is, tweet about their kids in the NFL. But Roma Odunze, it's really been since the bye week, especially because pre-bye week in week 5, it was looking really good for Roma Odunze. And I want to say it's still going to look good, but you've got 3 games of 5 or less fantasy points out of the last 4. The one where he got 18.4 was week 8 against Baltimore. And then you have double zeros last week, 5.1, 5.2 fantasy points. So it hasn't been necessarily smooth sailing for anyone that thought that Roma Odunze was going to be just a set it and forget it kind of guy, which he might have been in that territory at the beginning of the season. And it's been a roller coaster, like I said. So he's got a utilization score under 50 in the last 4 games, and it doesn't look good. Historically, his comparisons have averaged 13.2 points with 37% securing a top 24 season. But that's not the numbers that we thought we were going to get, especially at the beginning of the year with Rome. What do you think?
Yeah, I have him on 2 important teams, and I'm concerned, obviously. It's a good matchup this week, so we really need to see him go off. And I know people are going to be like it and say, well, it was a good matchup last week. His team put up 47, and he got a 0. Now, again, he did see a lot of DJ Turner. He did have a drop touchdown. I thought it was not they say this, right? If you're a receiver in the NFL, you get your hands on it, you're expected to catch it. It was not a good throw. He probably should have caught it. It was only 3 targets, though. But we just saw 2 weeks ago, 10 targets, 7 for 114.
Like 18 fantasy points.
We saw 5 touchdowns in the first 4 games. We've seen 0 since. So I think if you have them, unless you're in one of these shallow leagues, 10-team leagues or 12-team leagues where you're loaded, you're probably playing him. And you're just hoping that it gets better. Because this has been a brutal stretch. Part of it was the 2 games, too, that they won. They were running the ball a lot, and then the game against Baltimore, they were trailing, they were passing more, and that's when he had the big game. And then the Cincinnati game is kind of just one of those fluky games that it's difficult to explain. Because, again, he played every snap.
Yes.
Think about it. He played.
It's like that meme. It's like that meme where it's like, look at the high scores, and you're like, wow, Roma Odunze must have had a great game, and then the meme's just like, no.
Right. Can you imagine, like, you didn't watch the game or you were busy or something, and you go, oh, wow, 47-42. Yes. All right, let me see what Roma Odunze did. 2 touchdowns, 5 catches, 140 yards. What did he do? Wait, this is a mistake, right? He had 0? Wait, okay, did he get hurt?
Yes.
No. Oh, he played every snap? What the hell? Caleb Williams had 2 catches. You thought like you were on some type of drugs looking at that box score.
It was so. Hey, credit to DJ Turner, like you said, because he made life difficult last Sunday. But it was. I mean, listen, since the week 5 bye, just to put it all into perspective, he's averaging 7.2 PPR points per game. Good for wide receiver 67. That puts him behind Mac Hollins and Tyler Johnson.
Okay, so where do you have him ranked this week?
So this is what I'm going to say, though. Yeah. I've turned it around. Wide receiver 15 for me this week.
Okay, yeah. I think you have to start him this week.
This is a good matchup. I think this is a get right. I mean, the Giants are 28th ranked. They have the 28th ranked scoring defense. And I know we can look at that and say, well, look at what happened last week. But I think I'm with you. If you have Roma Odunze, there's a lot of times where you're looking around and you might not have better options, but I think this is a good week for him. And if we're wrong next week, then
right. If he has another 0, then we'll revisit this and say there's a problem.
We can just rage drop him, right? We can just say, here, someone else take him.
No, we're not doing that. But I guess the lone concern this week is, like, what if they jump out to a big lead and rely on the run? But I don't see that. They're not a team that dominates anyone. And the Giants have, hung in there. They've been competitive. The line's only 3.5. The total's 47.5. So that's a nice total. Yeah, like the Bears just don't even their wins. They don't blow out anyone unless they play the Cowboys. That was their biggest win of the season. I don't know what happened there, but every other game, the games that they win, they're close. So I think the Giants do hang in there. So yeah, you're playing him this week, and you're just hoping that he finds the end zone this week. And with all the talk and his dad, maybe that's the narrative we need to turn Odunze around this week.
Maybe we need to tweet about him in a good way because we don't tweet at players mean things because we're adults and we just don't do
Right.
that. But maybe we should say, hey, at Ben Johnson, what are we doing? Can we get some more fantasy points? And maybe he'll care. Maybe he'll end up caring. Speaking of just finishing up with the Bears, Kyle Monangai. Do you think that continues? I think the bigger question though, Adam, is more long term because DeAndre Swift was out of that game last week. So if and when we eventually see DeAndre Swift return, and that I think that could be as early as this week. I don't think that was one that was going to sideline him for multiple weeks. They considered him more day to day. But when DeAndre Swift returns, is Kyle Monangai good enough to be still started with both of those backs in there?
I'm not sure because it was the Bengals. We have to take that into
It
account.
was.
I
Yeah.
don't think this is a Hubbard Dowdle situation. Like Dowdle was clearly better. Like Swift was playing well, and Swift probably would have had the same game had he got that opportunity against Cincinnati. We did start to see Monangai involved more with before the Ravens games, those two games where they were running more. But it's not like DeAndre Swift saw his workload cut. Like he had a
Mhm.
game of like 19 touches in there, 20 touches. So yeah, I don't know what to do with Monangai this week. Like if Swift's back, I don't think you can start him. I think it's risky because you don't know how it's going to play out. Because like, what do you think?
I think he's startable, to be totally honest with you.
Even with Swift back.
Flex worthy. I do think
So
he's
you
worth
think it's
it.
going to be 50-50, 60-40?
60-40 maybe more towards DeAndre Swift because you said it, he was on the rise before that, and he played larger roles in week 7 and week 8, 46%, 45% snap share. So if we keep those and we think that the volume can help propel him to just a little bit more fantasy production, right? Because you're right, if you're looking at Kyle Monangai's week last week, you just have to take that out of the equation because you're not going to they don't get to play them every single week, unfortunately. So I do think that I'm okay with flexing him, but when we say flex these guys, I'm thinking that he's going to get you 10 to, 12 to 13 fantasy points. And I'm going to
So
be okay with it.
okay, so the game against the Saints, he had 15 touches and scored a
Mhm.
touchdown. So people might have said, all right, his work is increasing. I'm going to play him the next week. If you did that against the Ravens, he had 7 carries, 24 yards, no catches. Now you're going to tell me, well, it was a trailing game script. It didn't set up for the run, right? That's what you're going to say?
Yeah, kind of.
And you could say
I
this week sets up more as a game where if they do play for him ahead, they could rely more on the run. I think it's a tricky situation.
I don't, let me
I
say
don't
this.
think
I don't think Monungai's better than Swift. Like, I don't think it's a situation where he's played so much better that like you just said, like Rico and Chuba. I don't think it's that. But I do think if we start to see Ben Johnson mimic what we saw in
in
Detroit
Detroit.
of like, a Costco brand, and no, hey, no shade. I actually love Costco. So I should stop really saying Costco brand because that is a great brand. But if we start to see a 1A, 1B situation of Jameer Gibbs and David Montgomery with DeAndre Swift, Kyle Monangai, like I'm still starting David Montgomery places, even though it's not necessarily a fun roller coaster ride. He's still in the flex spots sometimes, or as my RB2, getting me 7 to 12 fantasy points, and that's what I think the expectations need to be.
I think if you have Monangai, you're hoping Swift sits another week to make the decision easy for you, and you just play him. If they both play, I think it's dicey. I also kind of feel the Bears said, all right, we can give Monangai a huge workload this week. Maybe they did that,
Mhm.
giving him 29 touches, knowing that Swift will be back this week.
Yeah, maybe. And that's the one thing. And that's why I'll understand because I'm going to have him a lot higher than a lot of our rankers this week in the rankings for week 10. But I understand if people want to wait and say, okay, let's see if it is a 1A, 1B situation. Because again, we could come on Monday, Overreaction Monday, and just say, yeah, this is DeAndre. Because DeAndre Swift's look good too. I mean, that's the other part of it. It's not been a Chuba Hubbard situation where he's just looked really, really bad in the opportunities that he's gotten. He's averaged 20.5 PPR points per game in week 6 to 8. It's been good.
Well, yeah, he started to come on. It was mediocre the first 4 weeks, and then he had 108 yards rushing versus Washington, 124 against the Saints. Again, the Baltimore game, they were more playing from behind. He only had 11 carries, but he's found the end. He's got 5 touchdowns this year. It's
That's
5 total
crazy.
touchdowns.
I
So
love that for him. I don't have much of any of
I
him
don't, and
actually.
I wanted him. I liked him where he was going. I think I don't even know if I have him in any. No, I don't think I
I
do.
only have him in best ball. That's
Yeah, me
the only
too.
place I have him.
But I did
Yeah.
like his price for this
No, he was,
offense.
yeah, he was not expensive for, getting a technical RB1 in an offense that we thought was hopefully going to be, ascending in a good way. And they still are. We're going to continue though. I want to talk through some red flags, some green flags here. Going more through Jackson Dart and what we've seen from him so far this season. I want to talk about Bijan Robinson and his upcoming schedule as well. We're going to break it down next. Fantasy Life right here on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio. Appreciate everyone hanging out with us on this Wednesday. You guys, we got the best listeners, Adam, but I am very biased. At K Valenzuela 17, at Adam Ronis over there on X. If you guys have some questions for us coming up for week 10, remember, our rankings change a lot during the week, so we might, have one answer today and it might be a little bit different. So make sure you go to fantasylife.com. Check out the rankings every single time. We know that, listen, Adam, I do the same thing. I set preliminary lineups, right? I say, okay, I want to just make sure that this is good to go because I just feel better about it and I'll submit it. But I'll go back and change it about 8 times until I really like what I see at the very end. So when we're giving you this advice early, just know, make sure to do your research as well towards the end of the week, especially those Saturdays, Adam, when we start to hear, if guys are going to be good to go, if guys are coming back, if they're making it back off IR. I say that right now because I see a question here from Sarfaz, sorry if I totally was not good with that name, but said JT's on a bye, 1 point PPR. Would you start Singletary or Monangai? And right now I'm saying Monangai.
I don't think you can answer that right now.
I'm saying Monangai right now.
I mean, if Swift plays, I don't even want to play Singletary anyway.
I was going to say, there's no way you play Singletary.
It's a solid matchup though, but
it is. I have my rankings in like Swift is going to play this week. That's how I'm looking at it. Because I didn't think that was one. He came close last week, did he not?
Well, not really, because he didn't practice. So what's been happening with Swift is he's been missing practice, and then mostly Wednesday and Thursday, or Thursday sometimes been limited. Always been on the injury report for weeks and winds up playing. Last week, finally, we kind of knew because Thursday he didn't practice, and then Friday, obviously, and they ruled him out pretty quickly. So they probably... He's been playing through it, and they probably just said, you know what? It's the Bengals. We'll give Monangai 30 touches, take the week off. You'll be fine.
You'll be good to go.
So that's probably what happened.
RB17 for Monangai for me this week. That's with Swift.
With playing. Swift playing? Wow, you really are high on him.
I know. I like him a lot. We'll see if it burns me. I'll probably, like I said, I move these a lot. Ian has him RB13.
With Swift in?
No, I don't think
Swift
he has
out.
Swift.
Yeah, you can't have Swift in and him at 13. If you're doing that, and again, that's the problem. That's the whole point with this. Like, there's no need to make a decision on this right now unless you're balancing someone in the Denver Vegas game, and you're probably not, right? So just sit there, just wait it out until we have more information. Like, it's really difficult to make that decision now when we don't know the status of Swift. And again, there's going to be other players that we find about today that are hurt. I'm also interested in what's up with Saquon Barkley. It's been quiet. Oh, yeah, his groin is fine. Let's see. There's a chance that we don't see him practice today, tomorrow. Then Tank Bixby comes into play. Quinshon Judkins is another guy that had a shoulder injury before his bye week. They keep telling us, yeah, everything's fine. Of course. They didn't play last week. No practice injury reports to say anything, but these guys might not be ready. So, and as you mentioned too, these Saturdays, I feel like it's happened more often this year.
It's happened a lot.
That we find out, like Drake London was a perfect example a couple weeks ago. So that's why you just need to take your time with making these lineup decisions. Everyone's in a rush and wants answers on a Wednesday. Like Wednesday before we got one practice report or injury report, and people are asking start-sit questions. It's like
they just want to win, Adam.
I get it. I do too, but I also
championship in there, right in front of them.
I also want to make a decision with the most information that I have at hand. Right now, we have nothing.
I think most people go back and change him, though. But I think initially we have to. And you're right on Saquon. They said he was good. They told us
they tell us everything.
Hey, he could have gone in there if we needed him to. He could have gone back in the game. So again, why it's so important, and I wrote this up in waivers. Tank Bigsby, like you said, is someone that if he is still floating around, or maybe someone dropped him, I could see that happening as well with these teams on a bye. Sometimes you have to drop, the backup running backs that aren't getting you any fantasy points because you need production right away. If Tank Bigsby was dropped, if who's for the Browns? Why am I forgetting his name? Not Quinshon Judkins. And who's the backup? Dylan Sampson.
Dylan Sampson and Jerome Ford.
Yeah, I thought Jerome Ford was going to get moved yesterday
Yeah, I
too.
think we
But
all did.
Dylan Sampson, I mean, if he's out there, even Jerome Ford, because do you think they'd give Dylan Sampson a huge workload if Quinshon Judkins wasn't in there?
Probably not. It probably would be a
Yeah,
split. I mean, just let
we'll have
Samson
to
roll with
see.
it at this point. You guys are
I know.
losing.
I
Let
know.
the rookie
It's bad.
go. I mean, they
It's
did
bad.
give him 12. They actually, well, in week one, they gave Samson 20 touches. Jeez, it feels
I
so
know.
long ago.
I
20
know.
touches.
Remember when we just
We
didn't know
felt
when we would
good.
see? I know. It's so bad. So bad.
Well, oh, yeah, because
What?
Judkins came back week 2, right?
Yes.
Wow. Yeah,
Or
that's
if not
insane.
three, was it two or
It
three?
might have been 2 because I'm looking that
Hang on, I
Samson had
got it.
7 touches. I think it was week 2.
I
Yeah,
got it
week
right in
2.
front
And
of me.
Judkins came back
Wow.
at 10 for 61. Boy, what a damper for your Dylan Sampson. You were all excited. Week 1,
I
20
was
touches. Here we go.
excited.
Judkins, we don't know when he's going to be back. Oh, yeah, he'll be back week 2. What?
We
Yeah.
said, oh, that out of everything on my bingo card of when Quinshon Judkins could have returned, it was not week two. Let
Oh,
me tell you
definitely
that.
not.
It was not even close. We're going to, okay, we're going to continue on. I do have red flag, green flag players that I want to break down. I also see some questions here on streaming quarterbacks. So I think this is the perfect time to go through quarterback streamers, where our rankings are for some of them, and answer your questions as well at K Valenzuela 17 at Adam Ronis. We're going to do that coming up here next. All right, quarterback streamers for week 10, and continuing to answer some of your questions over there on X at K Valenzuela 17 at Adam Ronis is where you can find us. We'll open up the phone lines too, because you guys know it's almost time for that fantasy life water cooler. Phone number to call in 888-963-2682, or you can press that new call in button on the Sirius XM app. So Adam said, I saw some questions here about just quarterbacks, who to pick up, who to stream. We can start with Jacob here because these are all players that we're going to talk about anyway. He said, have Dak on a bye, missed Caleb on waivers, which stinks because Caleb Williams being on waivers should not be a
Yeah,
thing.
I had a friend text me the same thing that Caleb was
I've
available.
had
Like,
I did too. I don't
but
know
of
what's
all,
going
wait,
on.
well, okay, why this week? Last week was the week to use him.
I
Like, how was he
know.
dropped?
I
Like,
don't
if there's
know.
any matchup you're using Caleb Williams, it's the Bengals. Like, I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't get
That's
it.
so funny you say that, because I got the same text and I said, "Are you sure?" I replied back and I said, "Are you sure?" I was like, "Is this someone else?" No, it was Caleb Williams. So
Look, I get it. Caleb Williams is frustrating. When you watch him, even that game against the Bengals, he was dancing. Like, he would drop back to pass, scramble to his right, scramble to his left, do a pirouette. And I'm like, dude, what are we doing? So he can drive you crazy. You see flashes of brilliance, and then you're like scratching your head. But against the Bengals, I don't care who you are. He's in your starting lineup. And like, that was the easy one. Like, there was no hesitation. Gave me 47 in one league, too.
there we go. There we go. So Jacob says, sorry you missed out on Caleb Williams, but who do I pick up? I've got Fields, Aaron Rodgers, Brock Purdy, Jacoby Brissett, Bryce Young. And I'll say this out of all of them, Justin Fields, I feel like we're going to get a lot of questions this week. And I don't, to be totally honest with you, Adam, right now, I don't have an answer that I'm comfortable saying, because if he's available, you want to think, okay, and if they give him the start, you want to say, okay, well, he has the upside with his legs that really keeps him inside our top 13, 15 quarterbacks. Even though we know he's not this great, amazing passer, this is a tough matchup. He's going up against Cleveland. I just worry about the chance that they look at him during the game and he now has potential to be benched at any time. That's the one thing I worry about with Justin Fields, where usually before, Adam, we just say, yeah, start Justin Fields always, because of what he can bring with you on the ground. But now I really do worry that at any moment they might say, well, we're just going to go with Tyrod Taylor, and then that'll be it.
And we don't even know if he's going to start. We
Oh, that's
we
true.
assume, but Aaron Glenn did the whole, I don't know. I'm not telling you.
Competitive advantage.
Yeah, it's really
Yeah.
going to work against
Yeah.
Cleveland.
So would you go with, out of those, I'd have to say Brissett.
I
Well,
think so.
Maybe Aaron Rodgers though. Do you like Aaron Rodgers against
Mm,
Los Angeles?
nah, I think I would go Brissett. I mean, Rodgers put the ball in the air, what, like 39 times last week and did nothing with it? Like, they won because
Yeah.
of turnovers. Like, their offense did nothing.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. That's just difficult, and we'll have to see what happens. But appreciate you sending that in, Jacob, and we'll have to figure it out. Here's one. Oh, fanny pack mafia. This is where I always tell you should get a fanny pack. No,
Yeah, sure.
what? What's
Not
wrong?
going to happen.
What are you
It's not
talking
me.
about?
It's not my
I got to
style.
return your Christmas present. You don't want a fanny pack? It'd look great. What Jackson Dart or Jalen Hurts? You're going with Jalen.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's closer than you might realize. But yeah, I like
Got
Jalen
him
Hurts
two
is
spots apart.
yeah, Jalen Hurts is one of those quarterbacks that I don't have him, but like I don't see how you could ever bench the guy because he's
Yeah.
always capable of scoring 2 rushing touchdowns in a given week. And I know the offense can be frustrating at times, but look, he's been better. They've passed the ball a lot better over the last few starts. We've seen the yardage increase. He has 280 passing yards in 3 of his last 4 starts. He has not been running much though lately. What is going on with that? He has
It's so frustrating, Adam.
22 rushing yards or fewer in 4 straight, and 1 rushing touchdown in the last 4 games. Okay, maybe
it's because I drafted him.
but he's getting it done in the passing game though. Like, how can you? He had 4 passing touchdowns against Giants, no rushing. 3 passing against Minnesota, no rushing. If you're going to do that, so he kind of balances out. So maybe this week 2 rushing touchdowns, 1 passing.
The whole team's been frustrating. AJ Brown wanted to get traded. They said no. So we'll see what happens. Quarterback rankings are live, though, at fantasylife.com. We're going to the water cooler. We're going through news and notes to know here coming up next. It is about that time for the Fantasy Life Water Cooler. Right here is where you're going to get all your news updates heading into week 10, because we always want to make sure that you are up to date on everything you need to know across the NFL for your fantasy football teams and those start-sit decisions that you are going to begin making going into this week. FantasyLife.com, though, is the place that will also help you with that. So make sure you go over there, subscribe to our newsletter. It is 100% free in your inbox 7 days a week. Yes, 7. Even in the off season, we're sending you information, and it comes right in the morning. So when you're drinking that coffee, eating breakfast, whatever you might be doing, you can go ahead and read that. So fantasylife.com is where you can go subscribe to the newsletter, and then all the articles that we talk about and reference throughout the show, those are live also at fantasylife.com and 100% free, Adam, just like waivers, utilization report, and as always, want to make sure that you guys are knowing and using that code SXM20 gets you 20% off any Fantasy Life Plus subscription. So make sure you use that as well. If you've been thinking about getting Fantasy Life Plus, tier 1 or tier 2, you can always use that code at checkout. Gets you 20% off. All right. You ready to go? Oh, wait, the phone number. Come on, Adam. What are you doing?
That's
Put the
your
phone
job.
number out there.
I do that on Sundays.
888. Sometimes I just forget. 888-963-2682 is the phone number to call in, or you can press that new call-in button on the Sirius XM app. We've also got X opened up as well. See some questions that have already been coming in at Valenzuela 17 at Adam Ronis over there. That's where you can send in questions as well in case you're at work, you're driving in an important meeting and we're just in your headphones. Appreciate you if you're doing that right now. Someone said earlier that they believe, it was Dennis. The Cardinals are going to trade Kyler to the Cowboys to make Adam's head explode. That would be incredible. Just something to just keep you on your toes.
Yeah, look, the expectations have been low with this team for a bit, and with Jerry Jones there, I don't think it's going to get much better. But again, that's why I have fantasy and betting to get wins that way, because it is not going to come from my football team.
No, it's not.
And I have the memories of the 90s.
You do. On VHS, right?
No, it was on Netflix. We just had a Netflix special. That is messed up, man. You are really mean. Oh my goodness. I didn't expect that from you.
Those games are older. That's what I'm saying, right?
That was a dynasty.
Yeah. How long ago was that?
All right. What's the next topic? Right. What are you doing?
I'm so sorry. You're
supposed to be the positive one, and you're just crapping on me, man.
That's funny stuff.
No, it's not.
Right,
it's not. Right. It's sad. Okay, it's sad.
I'm sorry. I
don't bash your Seahawks.
Yeah, bash the Mariners.
I did not. When did I bash them? I was rooting for them.
I know, but then they were just. I can't even talk about it. Actually, I hurt my own feelings sometimes when I start thinking about those games. Yeah. It's fine.
Don't worry. Just like the Mets and their magical run last year, it gets better the next year. Oh, wait.
Does it?
Maybe.
Yeah. Wait, I said, oh my gosh. It's just, I can't even go through it. How about some better news? Just kidding. This news isn't good. Bucky Irving is not in line to practice today. I really just want to bring up Bucky Irving because we were talking about him in the break and because we haven't mentioned him in what feels like really long time, Adam. So again, Wednesdays we take with a grain of salt a little bit, right? Especially, when we're talking about more of these veteran players, not necessarily that that's Bucky Irving, but it's more important to see what they do on Thursdays and Fridays. So he's got the foot/shoulder injury. It's not only just one injury. We have to remember that it was a shoulder injury that they found out about later because he just didn't, I can't remember what exactly happened, but it was, he didn't tell them initially. And so that was a later injury that we found out about. So it looks like he's still in the rehab phase possibilities of his recovery from the foot and shoulder injuries. He's been out since week 4. So that means if you are a Rachaad White manager, Sean Tucker is someone that you can continue to stash, but it will be Rachaad White if he's not good to go this week, which it looks like he might not be ready.
Yeah, the one team that I have Bucky Irving on is also in a rehab phase for fantasy because it is missing him desperately, and it's not good. Yeah, he has not played since week 4. I mean, this is insane. So I was hoping he would return this week following the bye, but the first day of practice, look, he's probably not going to play this week. Is he going to play next week, week 12? I mean, what is going on here? So,
Maybe
look, with Chris
back for the playoffs.
Yeah, great. If I even make it. With Chris Godwin, I don't expect much from him the rest of the year. It's just unfortunate. And, he was a player that before the year, I said I wanted no part of. He came back and then played 90% of the snaps. It was out there a lot. I was like, oh, okay, maybe I'm wrong on this. And then he gets hurt again. So there was always risk with Godwin. I would not count on him at all for anything this year. If you do have him, obviously, you could hold on to him if you have an IR spot. If you don't, I think you can cut him if you haven't already. Why would you wait for him for?
No,
I would realistically, what do you expect from him when he comes back?
Or if you have a league mate that thinks that Chris Godwin's going to be back and good, maybe you could do a light trade, instead of just dropping. But even then, that might be too much work for what you'll get in return. But yeah, Chris Godwin, it's the lower leg injury. He is also expected to miss today's practice. I feel like we knew that already. So again, we got the Buccaneers coming off their bye week. So we'll get more information as the week goes on, but not good updates for either of those two. Not a good update for one. We can just keep going here. Brandon Aiyuk. If you have Brandon Aiyuk and he is taking up a roster spot right now, another player, if he's not on an IR spot, another player that you might just need to cut ties with. They will not have his 21-day practice window open this week. The initial timeline was saying closer to week 10. He was injured again last October, 2024, October 20th was that injury. They said that he continues to, quote, make progress in his rehab, but more than a year after his injury, he's just still not ready to be back on the practice field. And their bye week is week 14. So I don't know if you see him after that. I just don't know. If you have him, that's another guy that's just wasting a spot for you. Just go ahead and cut him.
Look, fantasy is about learning things, lessons. We went through this last year, and I told you guys, do not draft these guys coming off injuries where they tell you he'll be back week 4, week 5. It was Jonathan Brooks and Nick Chubb last year. Didn't have either. I did take Brooks in 1 because I had an IR spot. It was round 10. I wanted no part of Brandon Aiyuk this year. They told us before the year, he could be back anywhere from week 6 to 10. He was also bad last year and coming off an injury. And people just talked themselves into it. Oh, it's round 10, it's round 11. And I understand a lot of picks in those rounds don't pan out, but you wasted a pick on Brandon Aiyuk. It is now week 10. They are still not opening his 21-day window. You mentioned it. They have a bye in week 14. Are you really going to play him in week 15 in the first week of the fantasy playoffs? And if you make it and he's back? No. So it's another example. You can give me guys that beat their timetable, come back and do well. But more often than not, these guys don't come back in the time they tell us, the window. They come back and they're not good, or they get hurt again. I don't know how many more times you need to see it. But that Aiyuk pick, and I said it at the time, it was a wasted pick. Mm-hmm. So just don't make the same mistake next year. You see it with Chris Godwin. You see it with Brandon Aiyuk. A lot of times it does not work out. Again, there are outliers, but do you really want to take that risk? There have been people holding Aiyuk on their bench all year long. That is a wasted pick.
He's not making progress. And that's the one thing that we always want to see if you do make those picks, is progress. And I think people forget how bad his injury was too. It was ACL, MCL tears. It took him weeks to even get the surgery. That's the other thing we have to look at with some of these players, because now, and I've mentioned this, when we start getting player injury news from now until December, it really puts, depending on how bad it is, it puts their 2025 season in jeopardy because we're getting later into the season. So Brandon Aiyuk not only had that injury October 20th. I don't believe that he got that surgery until a month later. So that was mid-November when he got that. And again, you had the ACL damage, you had the MCL tear. I mean, it was so bad. So Listen, if you have him, it's like Adam said, we live and we learn here, and he's just someone that again, you can just cut ties with him because we talk about a ramp up period too, Adam, where we say even if he was going to come back, let's say if they said, "Oh yeah, he's good to go week 10," it would take him weeks to get back up to speed anyway. So there's just no timeline I think right now where we could say confidently that we want to start Brandon Aiyuk. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, there's no
Maybe
way.
next season. Where do you think he goes in drafts next year? I
Mm,
bet he gets some hype, to be totally honest.
he
Doesn't play
could.
all year this year.
Yeah, then say, oh, he's ready to go.
He's
He's
ready to
completely
go
healthy.
100%. He missed a whole season. I bet he goes round six.
Maybe. Yeah, or
Yeah.
6, 7.
That'll be an interesting one to see next year. So we'll figure it out. But yeah, again, Brandon Aiyuk, his 21-day practice window is not being open. Did you like Adonai Mitchell going to the Jets? I feel like I already know this answer, but I
Yes.
mean,
He
do
needs,
you?
yeah, he
Okay.
wasn't getting any opportunity in Indianapolis,
He was in the
especially after what
doghouse.
happened in the end zone issue. So it was not going to happen. The Jets clearly need someone. So if he can get on the field now for fantasy purposes, I don't think you're picking him up, even in a deep league, because again, it is the Jets offense and who's the quarterback, and it's pretty much Garrett Wilson, Mason Taylor. But I think this does, if you have like Adonai Mitchell in Dynasty, at least
Mhm.
it opens it up an opportunity where he can get on the field. So yeah, I am encouraged by it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he's been in the doghouse this season. Let's just say that. So AD Mitchell again was I think we mentioned it earlier, but he was traded to the Jets in the Sauce Gardner deal. So, we'll see what he's able to do, but you're right on the dynasty aspect. You're a lot happier with this than what we've seen from especially the last couple weeks over there. So we'll see if he's able to get in there. Travis Hunter, we mentioned this yesterday, but I did want to put this update out there that they reported that he is not expected to be out long term with his knee injury. So I know that if people have him, they're probably just hanging on to him. And the Jaguars did trade for Jacoby Myers after they put Travis Hunter on IR. That was last weekend. So he's already missed one game. And when you get put on IR, you miss a minimum of four. But it sounds like, per Ian Rappaport, he is not expected to be sidelined long term with the non contact knee injury he suffered. That was in practice last Thursday. But so that means you hang on to him, right? And you hope for the best. But again, I'm just, you have to be a little bit cautious when he is able to come back. What are his splits going to look like? All of that. Because again, this is disappointing at him from the week 7 that he had, where we were talking about, okay, is the breakout here? Are they going to finally just use him, a lot more on the offensive side of the ball? But again, not long term. So that's better news than it being season ending.
Yeah, it is. It's still discouraging because it looked like they were ready to give him a more featured role in the offense, which we did see before the bye. So yeah, I mean, look, if you do have Hunter, I have him in one league. I'm hanging on, hoping that he
Yeah.
can return. But coming off an injury and then other players there, how is he going to respond? What's his performance going to be? But at least that's encouraging news, right? Because I think
It
at
is.
one
It
point
is.
it felt like it could be the year.
Well, yeah, when you hear non-contact on a Thursday practice,
Yeah.
we never assume good things. Let's just say that. So, better news, like you just said, long term, where it doesn't look like he's going to be out for the rest of the season, and it looks like that injury was not as bad as initially expected. So that's good news. We always like to stay positive over here. I think that was all the that was just kind of all the updates that we have. Today's practice reports we'll make sure to go through for tomorrow's. Again, Aaron Jones looks like he is hopeful that he's going to play for Week 10. So that was the big one that we were looking at as well, and we'll continue looking through all those as the show goes on. We're going to go out to the phone lines now, though. Again, the phone number 888-963-2682, or you can press the new call-in button on the Sirius XM app. So let's get things started here, Adam. Let's go out to Emilio in Palm Beach. Ooh, that sounds nice. Emilio, what do you got for us?
Hello, hello. I'm 1-7. I'm struggling. I got an offer trade for Bucky Irving, which I have for Sutton and Shakir.
So you're giving up Bucky for Sutton and Shakir?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I
do
like
it. You're
that.
one
Do
and
it.
seven. Look, and I
Yeah.
applaud you for playing it
I
out
love
and
it.
actually doing something. I know it sounds crazy, but a lot of teams at 1-7 give up. So much respect to you. You should do it. You play it out. You sign up for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it makes sense because we don't know when Bucky's going to return. We just gave you that news that as of right now, it doesn't look like he's going to practice today. So yeah, you need wins. You can't wait on Bucky. I mean, look, Bucky can return next week, go off. You shouldn't regret it. You need to get wins now. You need production. So Yeah, I think you should do that. I'm assuming it's a team that's near the top of the standings, and yeah, it makes
I
sense. You
like
need
it.
help now.
I love it, Emilio. Thanks for calling in. And again, like Bucky Irving, when you're trading away, this is the thing, Adam, if someone wants to trade for your injured players, you really have to take a good long look at that. I'd get that trade done today, though, because the Denver Broncos do play tomorrow. So don't wait it out another week where they
Oh, and you have
say,
to hope the trade processes.
yeah, I
Some
would.
of these
Yeah, I
sites
would
wait like a
look
day or two,
and
right?
make sure, Emilio, because sometimes when it's this late and it's a Thursday game, I think in most of mine, you're going to be okay if you get it processed today and then it goes through tomorrow. But don't wait another day for anyone. If anyone listening is trading for players on the Las Vegas Raiders or on the Denver Broncos or trading them away, just know that that's a Thursday night game tomorrow. Troy Franklin has more targets than Sutton this season, by the way. That's been an interesting development that we'll continue to talk about here. But appreciate you calling in, Emilio. Let's continue on. Let's go out to Barry in Minneapolis. Barry, what do you got for us?
Yes, half point PPR. I lost Tucker Kraft for the season-ending injury.
Yeah.
Trying to decide between Harold Fannin and Hunter Henry. It seems really close between those two. What are your guys' thoughts?
Yeah, that is, to me, Adam, that's close. I like Harold Fannin more this week. Your rest of season rankings, do you have Fannin ahead of Hunter Henry?
I believe so. Yeah, I know David Njoku didn't get traded, and that's a little bit of a concern. But also, we have seen with Gabriel at quarterback, he just loves the tight ends. The receivers are ignored. So, yeah, I think I would go with Fannin. With Henry, it's just going to be inconsistency. They kind of spread it out in New England, and we've seen Henry have some good weeks, some down weeks, 4 touchdowns on the season, but it's a lot of 2-3 catch games here and not much yardage either. So I would go with Fannin.
Same here. I expected more from Hunter Henry.
I did too.
I don't have a lot, but because he went later, so sometimes he was, my second tight end picked up. But man, I thought that he would not necessarily play the Tucker Kraft role, but they would, feature him a lot more in that offense with the lack of big time, big name receivers that they had for Drake May. But yeah, that just hasn't happened. So appreciate you calling in, Barry. I'm with Adam on this one. Fannin is also ahead in my rankings going into this weekend. Let's finish things out here. Let's go over to Richard in California. Shout out, Richard. What do you got for us?
Yes, hello. Yeah, I got a question for Chris Olave. Should I start him full point PPR, or should I just go with Khalil Shakir?
Chris Olave, full point PPR, or Khalil Shakir? I feel like it's Olave.
Yeah, look, I know that there was some. If you looked at it last week and it was one game, it looked like Shaheed was the go-to guy for Shuck, but obviously he's gone. So
he's gone.
This is should be a lot of targets again for Chris Olave, who's actually been really good this year.
Yes.
Shakir has been solid too. It is against Miami, division rival. You wonder if the Bills, coming off that win against the Chiefs, maybe have a letdown in a divisional game. And again, Shakir is very solid. Doesn't have like an immense ceiling, but you're pretty much going to get 8 to 12 points every week. But Olave can get you 20, and I expect the targets to go back to him now. Because last week was only 3 for 57. But yeah, I'm going with him, and you just got to hope that he gets what Spencer Rattler is giving him, because Olave only had 4 targets last week with Shuck. So let's go back to the days of double-digit targets for Olave, because those days were fun.
Let's do it. Yeah, Khalil Shakir is also just down the rankings. It's not necessarily close. I understand the matchup, though, because the Buffalo Bills are facing the Miami Dolphins in this one this week. So I get that the matchup looks a lot better, but he's consensus wide receiver 30. Khalil Shakir is on the week. And then Chris Olave is actually coming in consensus wide receiver 17. But again, Carolina. So a good matchup nonetheless. So appreciate you calling in, Richard. We're going Chris Olave on this one. If you want to continue to make phone calls here, 888-963-2682 is the phone number to call in. You can also find us over there on X, and we'll continue answering those questions at Valenzuela 17 at Adam Ronis. We've got Stock Watch, Adam. Players that are on the rise, players that are falling, maybe some neutral guys here, but I want to talk through, George Kittle, DK Metcalf, Kamani Vidal. I've seen a ton of questions on. We got to break them down, and we're going to do that here coming up next. Happy Wednesday, everyone. Getting you ready right here, Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio for Week 10 across the NFL. That means we are 5 weeks away, Adam, from the start of the playoffs. So get locked in, folks. It's time. Make those good moves. I'm still alive in almost all my guillotine leagues, too, by the way. I've only been shopped in one. And it
Good.
really,
That's
it
how
was
you got
my
to get it
fault.
done.
But I'm going to say it wasn't my fault, but it was fully my
You
fault.
got to take responsibility when you make a mistake.
I am taking a mistake. Whatever. It's those Saturday injury reports. I just sometimes, try to unplug and then you miss them. And then all of a sudden Drake London's not playing. What? Why? Not this week. That's not for right now. That was what, 2 weeks ago now? Brutal. Anyways.
Well, he came back and kept you alive, right?
No, I got cut.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot. That's
No,
right.
Thanks for twisting the knife a little bit.
But
No,
don't you have him in any other leagues?
No, maybe I think 2. I've got a couple really good teams, but
Okay.
yeah, no, he didn't help me actually. He got me chopped. Well,
But it
I
was
got
your
myself
fault,
chopped.
though.
Whatever. All right, stock watch. Players, you have to tell me if they're on the rise, if they're falling, or if their stock is just a little bit neutral. You know what? Let me go over to DK Metcalf for the Pittsburgh Steelers, because that has been a player, again, every single year it feels like we talk about him like this, but sometimes just really disappointing performances. And just he's so talented, and that he can do better than this, but he got 2.6 fantasy points last week. And I know it's a product of the game and the environment, everything else. He had 2 receptions for 6 total yards on 4 targets in that game. But there's been some pretty good, consistent play, right? Before their bye, he was getting you 12, 11, 12. He had a 23-point week in week 4. And then after the bye, you got 19.5, 8, 16.5, and then last week's 2.6. So stock watch for DK Metcalf here, Adam, on the rise or falling or right there neutral?
I think it's neutral. He's obviously been dependent on touchdowns, and the weeks that he hasn't gotten them, it's not been good. This was by far, though, like his worst game. He's actually
awful.
He's been decent though this year, I think. If you look at fantasy points per game, he's because of the last week he dropped a little bit. I mean, he's 28th in fantasy points per game in PPR formats. He was drafted probably anywhere between 18 and 24 at receiver. So he's a little bit below. I don't have him anywhere. I think I might have him in best ball. So what would you label him as a disappointment? What expected?
I'm a Seahawks fan, so I'm labeling him disappointed.
But that's because the expectations were high and he hasn't lived up to them. But I'm saying this year, what you expected with the Steelers, where would you label him?
Right in the middle. I'd just say fine. Probably what we expected. He gives you some spike weeks, but at the end of the day, you're okay with him. He's got to be averaging 14 fantasy points per game right now.
Yeah, a little over 13. So if you look, so he's had, last week obviously was 2 points or 2.6. Every other week he had at least 8, and in 5 of them or 6 of them he had double-digit points in PPR. I do think so. When you look at it from that perspective, it's been fine. When you look at the targets and the way he's been utilized in the receptions, I think I expected more. It just remember that game. It was it? I think it was the Bengals game, where he had a drop, it led to an interception, and it felt like Rodgers freezed him out the rest of the game. That was the game that all the tight ends were scoring against the Bengals. Yeah. We mentioned Odunze, but how does Metcalf go 3 for 50 against the Bengals in a game where they put up over 30 points?
Aaron Rodgers thing.
Right? That's
5 targets in that game, too.
And he hasn't had a game this year of double digits. He had 9 against the Browns, but I don't know. Look at these targets: 6, 4, 5, 5, 4. The targets, I think, should be higher.
And
he's made big
gets
plays.
More disappointing is the usage more and that's not on him. He can only do so much with what he's given. But yeah, the targets, you haven't seen a game. He's got 1 game of 9 targets. That was against Cleveland, but he only had 4 receptions, or he had 4 receptions for 95. So that was a good game. But
there's too many games of 4 or 5 targets, and that should not be the case for DK Metcalf in this offense. Because Calvin Austin, these tight ends, come on, get the ball to Metcalf. And again, I don't have him in redraft, so I'll say his stock is neutral. I think you're going to continue to play him.
Kamani Vidal. This is what I've got a lot of questions on him, and I understand it too, because Kamani Vidal, we talked about him a little bit yesterday, where it's been roller coaster, I think is the best way to put it, because last week I had him inside, I had him inside my top 12, right? And that was just completely wrong. And it was based on matchup. The Tennessee Titans are not good against running backs, but Kamani Vidal had 30 yards on 12 carries in that game. So you've got really 4 weeks here of polar opposite, fantasy point production days. You've got 22.8, 19.7, not consecutive. That was week 6 and week 8. And then you have 7.5 in last week's 3.1 fantasy points. So is his stock right in the middle? Is it falling, or do you think he's going to be okay?
I think you have to say for now he's going to be okay, just because we got the news that Omarion Hampton won't return until the earliest at week 13 following their bye, and that's not even a guarantee. Now, does Jarrett Patterson get more touches, which we saw a little bit last week? That's the question. The offensive line clearly is an issue, but it could force them to run the ball more, because if Herbert's dropping back to pass and he's getting hit and there's no protection, they might say, you know what, we need to run a little bit more, which would favor Vidal. And again, he's looked good in some games.
Yes.
I don't know what happened this past week. So I think if you have him, right, what are you going to do at this point? You're just going to keep starting him.
Yeah, I mean, I am. I only have him in one that I was able to pick him up off waivers. But again, it's more the long-term, news of Omarion Hampton not being ready yet. And if you're able to keep an RB1 on an offense like the Chargers on your team and startable for the next few weeks, I think that's key. I think we'd have a different conversation, obviously, if Omarion Hampton was ready to return. But with their bye in week 12, him potentially coming back week 13, yeah, I think you just have to keep going. And the week 10 matchup, they're playing the Steelers this week, right? Like, not necessarily favorable, but obviously he's not going to be inside my top 12 again. Yeah, he should be a borderline RB2 or a flex play, I think.
Yeah, I know the Steelers are coming off that good game defensively. They've been better against the run the last 2 games, too. They held Jacobs down. I think Jacobs was banged up, though, and Emmanuel Wilson actually had 11 for 61 against them, and then Taylor, a rare game of 14 for 45 where, I think they were focused on shutting him down.
Can we go Matthew Stafford here? We talked earlier in the week, said, hey, overreaction Monday. Is he putting together, an MVP caliber season? And I will say Matthew Stafford, for us right now, these are going to change. Again, our rankings are all live at fantasylife.com. But right now we have Matthew Stafford consensus QB7 on the week. The Los Angeles Rams going up against the San Francisco 49ers this weekend. Stock on the rise or neutral for you?
It's on the rise. I mean, he's getting it done every single week. The offense looks really good. We'll see about Puka Nacua. They did say that he could have gotten back in the game, but it was a blowout, and they expect him to play this week. Again, we'll see. But yeah, I mean, Stafford is just rolling right now. At least 3 touchdown passes in 4 of his last 5 games, 9 over the last 2. He did face the Niners that Thursday night game. I don't know how they lost that game, but again, against them, he had 389 and 3 touchdowns. And we know San Francisco has those injuries on the defensive side, and they are definitely vulnerable. So, yeah, Stafford's stock is definitely on the rise. You're feeling really good about him.
He's the QB8 right now, 20.4 fantasy points per game.
Which is not bad considering he doesn't run.
Yeah. And
Actually, so how about this, though? In leagues with 6 points for a passing touchdown, he is 4th.
Wow.
In fantasy points per game.
That's incredible. It looks good. Replacing Cooper Kupp with Devontae Adams was one of the best moves of the offseason. We talked about that months ago, saying that was one of my favorite moves, just because once you get the chemistry down between Matthew Stafford, maybe they went to breakfast. They were the team that did breakfast, or maybe the book club. I can't remember what they were doing with Puka Nacua a couple years ago.
Cooper Kupp. You get that, wasn't it Cooper Kupp?
Was it Cooper Kupp? But it was Puka, right?
I thought it was Cooper Kupp.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, whatever they do over there, book club. Should we do a book club? Aw.
You think so?
What was the last book you've read?
Oh,
I don't think we'll have the same. I don't think we'll have.
I only read sports books.
Okay. God,
you read other? What do you read?
Yeah, because I just fiction. I just can't do if I'm reading something, I don't want it to be about. I've read some good sports books. There are great ones out there, but don't you want to just not have that?
No, I'm kind of one-dimensional. I love sports, and that's what I'm about.
Well,
some people ask me, do you have any other interests? And I do, but sports is the focus. I'm not going to lie.
Someone asked me that the other day, too, and
what?
I said, not really.
About you?
What are my hobbies? And I said, I like to watch sports, like to talk about sports.
I know what I like, and I focus on it. I have a specific type. I have a specific, sports-centric focus. So, it's funny. So someone who I grew up with in the neighborhood didn't have contact for a while, and they found out I was doing this as a living and on this channel, and they're like, wow, that's so cool, man. You love sports as a kid. You always wanted to talk sports, and you're actually doing it.
Oh, that's good though.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah,
I always tell young people, find something you're passionate about and pursue it.
What's the it's corny,
like
but
booty.
it's like
I do.
that too.
See,
Get out of here. What is this? What are we, a nice moment.
That wasn't me. Don't blame me for that. I'm just going with the flow.
I have, and it's so funny because people think I have control of the board. She does. Everyone. She does. I do not. You know what I'll send you? You know what
see, she does everything. She's the host. She runs the board.
I am not.
She screens the call. She does everything.
I do not. I'll send you books about. You know what books I love? I love outdoor, like people that do crazy stuff, like climb Mount Everest and stuff, or scale.
I don't see you doing that though. Would you do that?
No. No, I wouldn't. But I love reading about it. I love reading about that stuff and like watching it. So I'll send you a couple books. Anyway, what were we talking about? Matthew.
Stock watch.
How did we get here? Let me just say this too. Davante Adams, his stock has to be on the rise as well because of the connection, the chemistry looks really good. He leads all wide receivers with 8 receiving touchdowns in the red zone, I want to say. And yes, I'm looking at that. He's just done really well.
Yeah, look, I was not surprised because the way I looked at it, and the one aspect of Puka Nacua that I was worried about, besides the injuries, was I felt like Davante Adams was coming in to be that red zone guy, and we have seen it. Now, 3 of those touchdowns came when Puka was out, so 3 to 8. But still, they're feeding him the ball near the red zone. He's not piling up the yards, though, Adams.
No.
That's the one thing.
No.
Like, he is very reliant on the touchdowns. Now, they are happening.
I was going to say.
They are a great offense, and Stafford is looking for him, so it's easy to say, well, yeah, it's going to go away. I don't know about that. It feels like it's going to be a season where, Adams could score 12 to 14 touchdowns this year. That is
He's
insane.
like a massive component of their red zone attack. It's just the thing that he is now. And again, like when Stafford is playing at a low end QB1 level with our high end QB1 upside, and you've got Davante Adams, you are so happy. He was not necessarily cheap though in drafts.
No, he wasn't.
You were drafting him for this kind of role and hoping that he would give you that
4th round pick.
If
right?
not third, sometimes if
third,
he was late.
And I was okay. I didn't get him anywhere, but I was fine with it. Like I felt like he was gonna put up the touchdowns in this offense. The yards are a little disappointing though, but touchdowns can mask a lot of those things. If you need them to continue though. It's they get the 49ers, the Seahawks. Wow, that's going to be a big game.
That's going to be a great game.
The Bucks in prime time, the Panthers, the Cardinals. Okay. So a lot of division games coming up.
You know what I remembered too? Last one here. I want to go Juwan Jennings and see where you're at. 14.1 fantasy points against the New York Giants last week, week 9. Again, they're playing the Rams this week. Rams are at home. Yes. Rams are at home. No, they're at home.
No, it wasn't the first game.
San Francisco's at home.
Yeah, first game, that Thursday night game, which eliminated me from Survivor.
It's been a long season here. So what are your expectations with him? Stock rising, falling? I will say this. He's given us target shares of 30%, 24%, and 23% over the last 3 games. What do you think?
I want to say rising, but the problem is this passing game, you mentioned the target shares, but it's not a huge passing offense. It's all Christian McCaffrey right now. That's the problem. I mean, 33 touches last week. So 24.
But do you think that changes when they get Brock Purdy back, or do you think that that's just
is Brock
the way
Purdy going to play?
No, I'm just saying if we ever see him again, do you think that changes?
It could. Here's the thing, though. The pass attempts, I don't know if they're going to increase. So the last few weeks with Mac Jones, 26, 32, 24. And McCaffrey's getting what? Like half of those? So there's no room for anyone else. That's the biggest problem with Jennings is the target share is great, but the pass attempts are low. So he needs to come through with efficiencies. You feel better about him, especially with Ricky Pearsall still not close. But
that wasn't a good pick this year.
Which one? Pearsall?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Don't remind me. I have him in a few leagues.
Sorry. I apologize. It's just, man, we talked about it, and I have him as well. It's just one of those things where it's so frustrating when we talk about how he has had injuries in the past like this, and then we see it come to fruition in a season in 2025 where it's like he's just not healthy. It's frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, Jennings really has been a bad pick too.
Yeah, they both have.
He can recover. I mean, it's like you said, the target shares have been better the last 3 weeks, but okay, cool. Target shares are great, right? Give me numbers. 7.1 in a PPR, 8.5 in a PPR, and then 14.1 because he got the touchdown. But the yards, 31, 45, 41. So he did say he was healthier last week. I did like him against the Giants. He came through, but boy, if They won 2 of the last 3. There looks like though these divisional games are gonna be tough, so they might have to pass more playing from behind. But it's all McCaffrey in this offense right now.
Yep. I don't know what he did this offseason, but everyone else got hurt and he's like, I'm good.
You know what happened? So clearly this 49ers training staff is not good. He said, I'm going to Germany and I'm going to get it done there. So maybe that's what happened. He just said, I'm getting away from the medical staff in San Francisco, going to Germany, getting taken care of. And look, he's a model of health now.
There we go. There we go. They play the Rams again at home this week, then the Cardinals, then they've got the Panthers, Browns, Titans, Colts, Bears, and then the Seattle Seahawks to end week 18.
Some bad.
Well, this is the team that they have the easiest strength of schedule in 2025.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if there was ever a time to lose your starting quarterback like Brock Purdy, and to be fair, Mac Jones has done well for this team, but when you've got the easiest strength of schedule for 2025, you're going to just kind of roll with it. All right, we're going to continue on. We are going to go through some more early week 10 rankings, continue going through your questions as well. We're going to break all of that down here coming up next. If you call yourself a sports fan, you already know you have to have Xfinity. All of the games all in one place. And here is what you get when you watch sports with Xfinity. You get the Sports Zone. So that's every pro football game and over 1,000 college games, highlights and alerts all in one place. So you never have to figure out when to change the channel, where the remote is at all times. You get that in the Sports Zone. You get the multi-view also. So you can be in up to 4 stadiums at one time. You also get the Xfinity fan view. So that is live scores, odds and stats all in one place, personalized to the teams that you like. So again, won't have to check your phone. You'll have all of that with the Xfinity fan view. You get enhanced 4K and you get that voice remote. That's always so fun because you can just say football. Imagine all of your football all in one place. Easy. Learn more at Xfinity.com. Restrictions do apply. New residential customers only. Taxes and fees extra and subject to change. This is Fantasy Life. Kendall, Valenzuela, Adam Ronis with you on this Wednesday, going through all of your questions for Week 10 start sits. Everything is also live at fantasylife.com. So if you want to see the updates for all of our rankings, the utilization report is over there as well, our Week 10 projections too. And we're going to get started there, Adam, by going through some of the early rankings for the week. Again, I just want to remind everyone that it is a Wednesday, so these are going to change as the week continues. But I wanted to pick some that were a few risers here, Adam, and some fallers just based on their matchups and everything else. I will say Ian Hartitz does a great job and a great write-up. If you guys want to go check it out at fantasylife.com, he does his early rankings as well, but he really writes them up and goes through some key matchups, players that are climbing, players that are falling. And he wrote up about Jordan Love and the potential for him to potentially get hot down the stretch. So we've been talking about Jordan Love with the impact that the Tucker Kraft injury might have on this team. And so Ian wrote up, he's not ready to say that this is a QB1 or anything like that. But the late season schedule that he has 5 really good matchups against bottom 10 defenses during the final 7-game stretch. And that's important for us to know because while Tucker Kraft and that injury is going to be, brutal for them to have to, just deal with the rest of the way, it is good to look at the schedule, especially now, Adam. I don't know about you, but I really start looking down the stretch at fantasy playoffs, who's playing who in week 15, 16, and 17. So just a little bit of a shout out for Jordan Love, who I know he's been efficient overall this season. It just hasn't been anything, that we're just talking about him every week for.
Yeah, he also could get back Jaden Reed, Dontavian Wicks. We'll see what they do. But yeah, the Kraft loss, I think, is really big for this offense because of what he can do after the catch. So again, Luke Musgrave is solid, but he's not the playmaker that Tucker Kraft is.
Yeah. And it's been, Jordan Love is always in that weird area, right? So this week, QB 14, they're going up against the Philadelphia Eagles, but it's always that weird, we're not talking about him as a top 6 quarterback, but he's not in the, 18 to 25 range where you're just saying, you could probably do better. He's in that range where we say, okay, for the wide receivers, we never really love it because they pass to, they could put both of us in there, Adam. And I think that we would catch a pass from Jordan Love, to be totally honest with you, or at least I would.
I can. I definitely can.
You'd be fine. But that's just what this team is. And I do agree with you that the Tucker Kraft injury, I think it's going to be felt. If you went and picked up Luke Musgrave, I wrote this up, you just can't expect Luke Musgrave to go into the same, he's not going to have the same role. He's not the same player, obviously, but he's just not as talented. And I do think he can hold, we've seen him before having that role solely on his own, but it's just not going to be the numbers or the same output that we've seen from Tucker Kraft. But I will say, if you do have Jordan Love, there is a chance that, late season, these next few weeks, especially though in 3 weeks from now, he could have some really good matchups, which is fun. And then that means maybe some of the receivers step up too. Romeo
Yeah.
Dobbs hasn't been bad though.
No, he's been good. He's the one guy you
Good.
can count on in this offense
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah, he's been fine there. So that's something you can look at. Justin Herbert, QB4 this week, continuing that trend. I just think that if you have Justin Herbert, you're happy with what you've seen so far this season, and he's continuously been inside my top 7 every single week in, week out. The Los Angeles Chargers get Pittsburgh this week, so again, another one where I have him inside the top 5.
Yeah, again, the main concern is the offensive line right now. And we've seen with Alt off the field that Herbert's numbers go down. So that's something you're keeping an eye on. Obviously, a lot of weapons in this offense, and it's gonna make it volatile trying to pick these receivers each week. They're all gonna have a game where they disappoint, right? Keenan Allen has been down. Keenan Allen's snaps have been down too. Quentin Johnston, everyone was banishing him off the earth, and then last week he scored a touchdown, and now people feel better about him. Gadsden keeps getting it done with these big plays, but I do think this offensive line is something to keep an eye on. Obviously, Herbert's been really good. He's running a lot more those last few games. He talked about it in the offseason. He started the season running well, then it dried up, and all of a sudden he's running again.
More pressure can make Herbert or any quarterback really take off and scramble more. So that's maybe, we never want injuries, obviously, especially those offensive linemen. Joe Alt, that's just a really big loss. But when we're talking about the potential pressure that Justin Herbert could be facing, we could maybe see him, like I just said, take off more, scramble a little bit more because of that. I've got Ladd McConkey, wide receiver 10 this week. Quentin Johnston's going to be at 24 right now. And then Keenan Allen's wide receiver 33. So that's how I have that wide receiver room kind of playing out going into this week. I've got more rankings updates. I want to talk about Tyrone Tracy and Devin Singletary, and I've seen a lot of questions today on Woody Marks. So I want to break down what our expectations are on Woody Marks going into week 10. We're going to do that here coming up next. This is Fantasy Live, going through some early week 10 rankings for you all, and we see your questions. Appreciate everyone hanging out with us and listening to us today and every day that we are on the air. Tyrone Tracy, I can't even help but laugh because Adam, what do we know about anything? Tyrone Tracy, you spent some good money on. You say, okay, Cam Scatterboo's down. That is so disappointing. No one's going to fully be a Cam Scatterboo in this offense, but Tyrone Tracy's going to be pretty close, right? Because we saw what happened in week 8 when Cam Scatterboo did go down and how he led the backfield. We saw it throughout most of 2024, how he led this backfield. But in the week that we say, yeah, go ahead and pay a lot of money for Tyrone Tracy, go ahead and give him a start, Devin Singletary comes into town and says, not so fast. So what are we doing? Are either of these two startable? Do you start both now? Is this just going to be a running back by committee? I've got both of them in RB3, like very low end RB3 flex territory, where if you're in a tough spot, I understand it because I'm in a tough spot and I might have to be starting Tyrone Tracy again, but you're not happy about it because of what we saw last week.
Yeah, it's a really dicey situation because when we saw Scatterboo go down, it was Tracy's backfield. So that's what led everyone to believe, okay, we can go all in on Tracy, spend that money, and we're getting a potential RB2 the rest of the year. Then they go out there and it's Singletary playing more of the snap. So yeah, it is a little bit of concern. Tracy only 8 touches. That could easily switch back this week, though. The other concern is just Jackson Dart runs so much. He had 8 carries. He's scoring touchdowns. So if you're going to have this backfield split between Singletary and Tracy, and then you have to incorporate the runs of Dart into the equation, it leaves very little for those two running backs. Again, it is a good matchup here against the Bears. So I think you have to have Tracy ranked higher as the better talent. But yeah, you don't feel good about starting him. But we get into that range. You get into a range of running backs where tell me who you feel good about in that area. That's the problem. The Jordan Masons, the Kenneth Walker, Charbonnet, Kamara, who I've been saying, you take away the name and you go look at those stats and you tell me, like I wrote it up in the Guillotine newsletter. He should not even be near your starting lineup in a Guillotine league. Now, I honestly don't think I would want to start him in redraft either. Because the appeal of Kamara this year was the volume. Oh, he's going to catch a lot of passes. They're going to be playing from behind. You're not getting that. And you got Taysom Hill now back in the equation with getting carries. Kamara's not involved in the pass game. Like, to me, that's a guy I don't want near. I get it. When you do rankings and projections, he's going to be in that RB 25 to 30 area. But to me, he's kind of unstartable. But that's the whole point of this. You get into that area where you don't feel good about any of these guys. Nick Chubb, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. Like, they're all similar. At some point, you got to start some of these guys.
That's where I'm at with, and I saw a ton of questions on Woody Marks today. So that's where I'm at with Woody Marks. Again, this isn't a good matchup anyways. It's interesting though, because Marks ranks 17th in RB points per scrimmage play since week 4. That's with a minimum of 50 carries per The Athletic. But again, this is not a great spot for him this week, and I have him in the same range. He's my RB 32 this week, but that puts him in like Jordan Mason range, Nick Chubb, Singletary's right there. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, it's tough. And then you even saw British Brooks getting in there and getting some goal line carries. So, yeah, I would like, Marks did have 10 carries, no reception. So that was the crazy part. And we might get Davis Mills this week, too.
Oh, that's right. CJ Stroud with the concussion. That looked bad too. So we'll have to keep an eye on him. Rankings are live and updated at fantasylife.com. So make sure you guys go and check that out. You got RotoWire Fantasy Sports today coming up next. We will be here same time tomorrow on that Thursday, breaking down Thursday night football. Everyone enjoy the rest of their day. We'll see you same time tomorrow.